Under a minute to go before the grand final here in San Francisco. This is the Mubadala SailGP Season 3 grand final. This is a race for $1 million.
Interesting change of tactics already here. Great Britain are late into the box right now, and New Zealand, they're aggressive. They've turned in close to Australia. The Kiwis have a little bit of control over the Australians at the moment. They're well back from the line. Ainsley's going to have a chance to set up on them, but it's all about timing. Can you be at top speed when the line goes white? That's what we're looking for now. Aggressive from Slingsby, dives across, looking for that inside position. They're going to be fighting back to the line and expect the Kiwis to be separated from the other two boats at the start. Ainsley's hooked. Ainsley's going to be slow and driven off out the back on board Great Britain at the moment. So aggressive from Slingsby. I think the best two starts are going to be New Zealand and Australia for here. Watch for the line to turn white. How's your timing? We go in the $1 million race here in San Francisco. What a start. Australia and New Zealand perfect. It's New Zealand with a slightly faster angle to Mark 1, but Slingsby's going to be on the holding on the inside, and he will control things at Mark 1. Ainsley's got work to do on board Great Britain.
So with just 3 boats out on the bay, the battle is on. Mark number 1, it's Australia and New Zealand as the old rivals get together one more time.
New Zealand must keep clear. Slingsby's aggressive. This is an opportunity for Ainsley. Ainsley will be back in the race here at Mark 1, but the Australians lead. They have control of the first decision, and it's now a test of speed. Which one of those flight controllers is going to be brave enough to fly the boat highest? Expect Ainsley to be the first to turn the British boat away.
And look at those speeds approaching 70 kilometers an hour. There you see Great Britain on the left side of your screen, Australia right in the middle as we ride on board with the Kiwis.
Setting up in the background of the British crew there. No control for the Kiwis at the moment. They're really much reliant on the other boats turning away. First to go, it's Emirates GBR. Second, it's going to be Australia, and it's how well lined up they are for Gate 2. We heard from Lisa, and we've seen in both races that at Gate 2, it's been favourable to turn left. Can the British make it down here with no more manoeuvres? If not, then it should be controlled to Slingsby early on in this $1 million race. 44-metre lead right now. I wonder what the heart rate is, Todd. Mine's pretty high.
Emily, how far out are they already looking at what direction they're going to turn?
They'll be constantly thinking about 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves ahead of them. They're going to be thinking even about the next gate after this one.
They'll have decided that before the start, 100%. If we're leading, we want to turn left. That will be in a set play situation here. But for the boats behind, they're already taking second pickings here, Todd. But we're early in the race, so it's about keeping it tight right now. But look at the boat speed on board the Australians.
Be going a right turn. Great. Happy to be a little fast, nothing major.
What's Tom Slingsby seen? We thought they liked left turn early. Slingsby wants to minimise the number of manoeuvres here. The water's getting choppier, it's tight. New Zealand and Great Britain. Great Britain have the right of way. That was a close cross for the Kiwis. Interesting if anything comes of that.
Everyone's going right.
They are all setting up for a right where it saves you a manoeuvre by going right. Every time they turn the boat, you slow down. So they're saving a manoeuvre going right, but don't be surprised to see the Kiwis take a different choice when we get down the bottom here, as they're now well out the back of the fleet and they need a miracle from here. Maybe not a miracle, but they've got to find more wind from here.
Well, we've seen this before at gate number 2 with Australia out in front and in control. There you see the wind speeds at the top. They're traveling right around 57 kilometers an hour and the wind holding right under 30 kilometers an hour. So we'll see in the upwind how they handle it, and it's the Brits the first one to make the turn.
They were just following behind the Australians, so they would have been in disturbed wind going a bit slower there, Todd. So their option was to move away. I think for New Zealand, they've got to hope that Australia engages Great Britain.
New Zealand offshore, slightly less pressure than the boats close inshore, so that's good news for Australia at the moment.
It's going to be a tight race here, though. The Australians are keeping it tight. They want to be trying to travel in the same direction as the boat in second place. So right now, they've both got the wind coming over the left-hand side of the boat on board Great Britain and Australia. New Zealand, well, they're going the other way, but over 150 metres behind on our ladder lines. We can see they've got a bit of work to do.
Leg 3 of 6 on the $1 million race, the final race of season number 3 as we go down under the water, and Lisa Darmanin.
Well, it is certainly patchy out here, which means that there's lots of little pressure pockets around the race course. So I know I was saying I thought one way worked, but I think staying flexible out here during this race is everything. The other thing is later in the day, it's choppier out to sea, so I think they might be searching for flatter water to hit higher speeds as well.
Textbook positioning by Tom Slingsby here. We can see the wind is coming from the right-hand side of our screen. It will be deflecting off the Australian wing, and it will be turbulent by the time it reaches Great Britain. That'll be slowing them down.
Our move is to match Ben on the next one, but it's going to work a bit of height, yeah.
When he says match, he wants to be directly lined up with them, Todd. He wants to be going the same way. If you can sail in the same patch of wind and you're confident of your speed, as the Australians are, then there's a very little chance for the British to get by.
And why wouldn't they right now? Look at the speeds at 55 kilometers an hour going upwind. They've got almost a 200-meter lead on Great Britain, who sits in second, and the Kiwis still having their issues in third.
Kiwis have got to find a bit of space and try and get away from the other boats, but that's just not easy.
Australia's gap is growing all the time. They are, on average, the fastest boat on the course, although that's not...
Oh, they're off the foils, Emily. They've fallen off the foils. They said it's a bit light here. They're out of breeze. This is going to be a huge opportunity. Look at the ride height. They're only 12 centimetres above the water. They're off the foils. The lead's coming down all the time here. They're back up to speed. Heart in the mouth moment for Australians here. It could be control back to the British. When they turn, Great Britain will have the right of way. Tom Slingsby will need to be confident that he's clear ahead as we approach gate 3.
And that mistake cost the Australians half their lead. It was 200 meters. It's now down to 100 meters. There you see the Australians at the top of your screen. Great Britain at the bottom.
Oh, we just don't see mistakes. That's pressure, Todd, right there. But it's a good recovery, and it sounded calm on board the Australians. Expect to see the Australians turn directly in front of Ainsley again to try and get control of this race again. He was stretching away. It was looking easy for a moment. Wow, good recovery by Australia, but it shows us one mistake and this final could flip on its head.
The Prix inside, lifting, taking the height quickly here. We're going to go right turn. You could... Okay.
Interesting. Slingsby on board there saying he wants to take right turn. He's happy to do another manoeuvre. There just seems to be less wind right now in towards San Francisco shoreline. Australia fell off the foils, lost a lot of distance. He knows Ainsley's going to take a right turn because he can't make it in one. So again, he keeps himself in the same patch of water as Emirates GBR by taking this right turn. So an extra manoeuvre, but an awful lot more control for the Australian boat right now.
So the Australians are around safely, and they've got a nice lead. And now look at the speed on the top of the mast, coming up on 64 kilometers an hour in first place.
Todd, with 2 long legs and a short sprint to the finish away from $1 million. How's your heart rate on board that Australian boat right now?
The lead now back up to 200 meters, and New Zealand opts to go inshore.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to go on board Australia here and listen in. What's in Slingsby's mind right now?
GBR set up. High rate, moving hard. Okay, coming into pressure and fires here, guys. Let's just smooth it out. Take solo, they're on our line.
Voice of Tash Bryant at the back there, talking about where the British are. They're on our line. That's just what you dream of hearing as the tactician and driver in Tom Slingsby. They just follow me here. I then can just trust Kyle Langford as the wing trimmer, trust Jason Waterhouse, the flight controller. I know they're the best in the business. I know they can keep the boat going as fast as these others. So at the moment, it's just a case of trying to keep this Australian boat lined up with Great Britain, and it's a team job.
This is leg 4 of 6, the grand final here in San Francisco, and it's the 2-time reigning and defending champions out in front. But look at this. The Kiwis have now moved into second place ahead of Great Britain.
Big gain. They found more wind in by the shore. It hadn't been there before, but Burling spotted it, and he's now back within 100 metres.
And that's the summary from that previous leg. The Australians really on form. Even with that touchdown close to the shore, they still had the highest average speed and sailed less distance. You can't get better than that.
No, that's what you want right there. And Emirates Great Britain, they've dropped off. The Kiwis are fast, some 7 kilometres an hour faster than the Australians, but crucially, still 100 metres behind, and all the boats are going to look well lined up for a right turn. And if everyone follows Australia, that'll be good news for the Australians. What trick has Pete Burling got left up his sleeve to try and drag a rabbit from a hat at the end of this final here?
Still work to do here on leg number 4. It'll be around this next gate, then to the top of the course. And as Stevie pointed out, a quick sprint to the finish line and the $1 million prize. It's the 2-time defending champions out in front. New Zealand, though, have found speed late. Look at that. They're going 60 kilometers an hour, just almost even with the Australians. Can they reel them in, Stevie? This may come down to one final mistake.
Well, if anyone makes a mistake, that's going to be it. But the crucial move here is Burling is taking the left turn at the bottom. He maybe thinks he's seen more wind the other way. This is really probably his only move, to split the course. Hope he gets more wind. If he finds more wind, he'll be faster. Just 9 seconds needed to claw back on this fine upwind leg, and it's now a strategist game. Who's found more wind? Slingsby, quick to turn the boat, trying to get himself back over and closer to the New Zealand boat. And it's going to be all about who's read the wind best at this stage. That low drag position on board Australia there. So there we just heard from Carl Langford, it's going to lift. That's great news for them. That means the wind's going to turn to the left and start to bring them more directly up the ladder line. Great news, should be a gain, showing us a gain at the moment, and expect a bit of a repeat, Todd, of what we saw on the last upwind.
So, Stevie, is this a case of Australia and Tom Slingsby? They're going to match whatever the Kiwis are doing in Peter Burling?
Yeah, I think so. Look, off the foils, Great Britain. There just seems to be less wind in by the shore. It's easy to fall off the foil. There we go. Straight lines himself up with Burling. Burling's got to manoeuvre soon to try and keep this race alive. You've got to move. As soon as the Australians move, Burling needs to move and try and get a mistake out of the Australians. Every time you manoeuvre, there's a potential to... Here we go. The Kiwis turn one more time. What does Australia do here? I wouldn't be going too far towards San Francisco shoreline now. Got to be a manoeuvre for Australia soon here.
Speed still good on for Australia at 53 kilometers an hour. Similar for New Zealand. The lead now 100 meters as they get ready to make the left-hand turn at the next gate at mark number 5, and then it'll be the sprint to the finish line.
Crucially, the Australians stayed on their foil in that manoeuvre. That was where they fell off their foil last time. They've stayed foiling. That doesn't give much of an opportunity yet. Still 100 metres in it. Still the New Zealand boat needs to throw manoeuvres at Australia and try and make another mistake on that Australian boat, or it's going to be the three-peat. There's only a few hundred metres to go here, Todd.
And that lead is growing from Australia. Over 100 metres lead now.
Stand by there, feed the build on.
Here we go, 600 metres of this upwind leg left to mark 5. Then that short sprint to the finish. The race is getting closer, but Slingsby's not willing to give Burling any space. Again, lines himself up parallel. It's now just a question of boat speed, and we know the Australian boat's fast. What's Burling got up his sleeve? Surely one more manoeuvre from the Kiwis.
Got to get it going here. Heads out, slingers, big transition coming. Yeah. Yeah, we're losing big time here. Just got to get that boat going.
Big transition coming. What he means by that is there's a change in the wind speed. There's a big change coming. We've got to re-accelerate the boat. And look, they have. Top of the mast, matching boat speeds. 2 more manoeuvres for all the crews here. New Zealand make it first. Australia will go straight in front of him. It's all about whether anyone makes a mistake now, Todd. This is Australia's to lose.
Great Britain out of the picture there, 200 meters behind the Kiwis in second place. And look at this, Australia puts it down.
Oh, he's got to stay above 30. Oh my Lord, he's off the foils. This has given New Zealand a chance. He's going to have to turn again, and he's going to be slow when he turns. Advantage New Zealand here. This could go to the wire, Todd. Australia have got to keep clear here. New Zealand stay on the foils. What do Australia do? They're going to struggle to stay foiling on board Australia. On the inside, it's New Zealand. New Zealand, if they can get over that. Wow, no. Slingsby holds on. He leads at mark 5. Oh.
First to the circle, and Australia has priority, and the Kiwis, and now it is an absolute drag race for $1 million. The 2-time reigning and defending champions. They can see the finish line. The checkered flag is there. The Kiwis are going to run out of water. The Australian dynasty is still intact, and the three-peat is now complete.
Have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, Tom, oh my word, what? I thought he'd blown it. How they pulled off that second manoeuvre into the final mark 5 at such a low speed and get straight back on the foils. Oh, I thought somehow Burling had pulled it out of the hat. What a race for the $1 million. That pretty much had it all, but you've got to say, the best team over the season has won, and I think there's a certain fairness in that.
Absolutely, Tom Slingsby saved his most clutch moment for the last 30 seconds of this race, because, Emily, it looked like Australia, when they put it down, it was done, because New Zealand is coming on them strong, and he gets it back up.
I know, and after New Zealand's weekend, you know, they've underperformed, and then all of a sudden, last moment, it brought it out of the bag, but just didn't quite manage it.
Oh, what a performance. Tom Slingsby. Stevie, we've seen him do this time and time again. Just when you think he's out, he comes back.